Right, hello. 3rd of March, British Sunak delivers another budget. Here, Simon Thomas, Managing Director, Ridgefield Consulting, along with Shameem Wahid, who's a Senior Tax Manager in our practice. So this time, slightly different format. We normally do a Facebook Live or something like that, where we comment as the budget goes through. But we thought this time we would as it's been such a strange budget with the economic climate, we would do a review looking at our notes and going through and giving you the salient points therein. So, Shameem, when we go back to the very start, I thought the first sort of 20 minutes or so was really a case of more of the same but less, I would say.
Yep. First, the furlough scheme will be extended until the end of September.
Woo!
For employees.
Yep. So, key points, furloughing is going to extend to
September.
September.
It'll be the same, 80% of the unworked hours.
Yeah.
Then from July, employer contributions kick in 10%, and then August 20%.
Yeah, so that's
similar to what happened.
Similar before extension of the furlough scheme, but obviously asking for the employers to chip in, and we're going to see a lot more of this about where it's a case of extending and then maybe lessening.
Support for the self-employed will also continue until September, with a 4th grant covering the period February to April, and a 5th and final grant from May onwards.
So then on to the self-employed, there's going to be a 4th and a 5th grant
yeah.
for the SEISS, as it's called.
And then if you became self-employed in the 1920 tax year, you'll also be eligible for these, but your tax return would have had to be filed by midnight yesterday.
Which was a strange date, wasn't it? But that's what he said, so the 2nd of March.
Yeah.
But also, one bit was not entirely clear. I think there's going to be some sort of way that the grants are tied up to turnover.
Turnover, yeah. So
yes.
if you had a 30% reduction, I think he said.
Yes.
Then you'd get all the 80%. But if your turnover's reduced by less than 30%, it will be tapered somehow. So it'll be
a bit more detail to come on that, obviously, when we get in touch with clients on that.
We're also extending our support for the lowest paid and most vulnerable. To support low-income households, the universal credit uplift of £20 a week will continue for a further 6 months. We reaffirm our commitment to end low pay, increasing the national living wage to £8.91 from April.
Other points, universal credit continuing, minimum wage is going to go up to £8.91.
Yep.
I can announce today that we will provide a new restart grant in April to help businesses reopen and get going again.
The cash grants for businesses, so there'll be a restart grant, so for all the non-essential retailers, etc., that were required to close. I think it's £6,000 per premises.
So again,
for non.
And that, sorry, it's 6,000 for non-retail.
Non-retail.
18 for retail.
18 for retail, hospitality, gyms, personal care. So per premises, that is.
Which again, previous it was 10 and 25. So it's like more of the same but less.
Yeah.
Today, I am doubling the incentive payments we give businesses to £3,000. That's for all new apprentice hires of any age.
And then there's points about he's going to there's increases to the, I think it was 3,000, doubling the incentive on apprentices. And actually, apprentices, don't be scared by age. Apparently, it covers.
Yeah, the age. He's got rid of the age. So yeah,
he's got rid of the ages on that.
Apprenticeship for anyone.
As the bounce back loan and CBILS programs come to an end, we're introducing a new recovery loan scheme to take their place.
The loans, oh right, yeah. So
the bounce back loan and the CBILS, they've gone.
Because historically,
so come to an end,
the bounce back was 50.
Yeah.
25% of turnover or 50 as a max. Now, obviously, as a lot of people have heard, there's been a lot of fraudulent cases with the bounce back loan of companies because it was self-certification. So there are a lot of companies set up, no turnover in them, just to get the loans.
Yeah.
So I think he's quite clearly saying that the CBILS will continue from that, but it's going to be between 25k and 10 million, 80% backed, and look, there's going to be further detail on that. For instance, the CBILS was unsecured at 250,000. That'll probably stay in terms of what the max on that is. But yeah, probably no bounce back loans, and it's all going to go into one pot.
Yeah, new recovery loan. So that's 25k to 10 million, he said.
That's right. Yeah.
For the remaining 9 months of the year, business rates will still be discounted by 2/3, up to a value of £2 million for closed businesses, with a lower cap for those who have been able to stay open.
Back on the rates, 100%. This again must have been 100% rates reduction to June, and then two-thirds discount after that.
Yep.
VAT again. This is just retail, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hospitality is it?
Yeah.
Sorry. The 5% is extended to September, and then 12.5% from
There's
October.
an interim, 12.5 before it goes back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can announce today the £500,000 nil rate ban will not end on the 31st of March, it will end on the 30th of June.
Okay, stamp duty, he said it's, 500k is nil rate is going to June.
Yep.
And then it'll drop to 250 to September.
Yep, and then the nil rate band, at the moment, the standard one was 125, that's going up to 250.
Yes,
So
yes,
that's stamp
yes.
duty, nil rate band.
There's a little bit about people with 5% deposits on. I don't know if this was
First-time
originally
buyers,
already there, but
I think it's a new one. It's for first-time buyers. You've got a 5% discount, and then you've got a 95% government backing.
yeah, that's
First-time
correct.
buyers, yeah.
Asking more of those people and businesses who can afford to contribute and protecting those who cannot.
How can anyone
So
afford
this
tax?
government is not going to raise the rate
don't
of
afford it.
income tax, national insurance or VAT. Instead, our first step is to freeze personal tax thresholds.
Right, we need
We've
that one.
nearly doubled the income tax personal allowance over the last decade, making it the most generous of any G20 country.
So it's not a tax.
We will, of
It is.
course,
It's a stealth one, isn't it?
deliver our promise to increase it again next year to £12,570.
Wow.
But we will then keep it at this more generous level until April 2026. And I will also maintain at their current levels until April 2026 the inheritance tax thresholds, the pensions lifetime allowance, the annual exempt amount in capital gains tax, and for 2 years from April 2022 the VAT registration threshold.
Right, personal tax. Now this quite clearly said this isn't a tax hike. It's a stealth tax, but actually this and the next point's coming with corporation tax. We've been here before actually in years gone by, but the first thing is around the personal allowance is going to be frozen. So obviously
Insane.
it's not going to go up, and the cap on basic rate of. I mean, he mentioned another £70 or something, didn't he? But
That's from 20.
Is it?
From next year, so we'll have another £70.
We'll have another 70. But basically, for people extracting money out of companies and taking dividends, which obviously a lot of us do, or the director's salary, the small director's salary is still going to be limited at 12, up to 12,500, and 50,000 basically is going to be your cut off a high rate. And I think he said that's going to freeze till 2026. So it's a stealth tax really, because it's a freeze. But again, we have been here before with these thresholds being in years gone by.
So the second step I am taking today is that in 2023 the rate of corporation tax paid on company profits will increase to 25%.
Piss off.
Even after this change, the United Kingdom will still have the lowest corporation tax rate in the G7. For the next 2 years, I'm also making the tax treatment of losses significantly more generous by allowing businesses to carry back losses of up to £2 million for 3 years.
So that's that, and then one of the big ones we were expecting, obviously, was who's going to pay for all this mess and everything, and obviously kept saying that the debt can't go on ad infinitum. So we've seen a corporation tax rise, but again, this is going back to previous rates where we had large company rates, small company rates, with a tapering in between. Yeah. So it's going to be 25%
from 2023.
April 2023, but that's over 250k of profits. Under 50k of profits,
still at
19.
Yep.
Somewhere in the middle, going to be a taper.
Yeah.
So in all honesty, I mean, look, we're business owners. It's going to affect me in terms of extracting, in terms of tax, corporation tax. Brilliant that it's not immediate. Okay, 25%. I think it was 26 higher before. Labour's always touted 26%. Sometimes a bit higher. But there's a tapering in there, and a bit we're going to come on to in a minute, which we're actually not entirely sure on. The super deduction could actually make a bit of an interesting, there's always a bit of give and take. I think this government have always done that, and I think they're doing this with the super deduction. One thing to just fly on the CT is that the losses were only what used to be a year.
You can carry back for 12 months, but for the next 2 years, he's extended that. You can carry up to 2 million losses. You can carry them back 3 years.
Yeah,
that's quite.
That's pretty good.
That's
you
quite
know.
good.
So that's pretty good. Now the super deduction, we're really going to need some clarification on this. I mean, we were, as you can imagine, we're texting through as the budget happens to other accountants and their opinions on and tax advisors on what's going on. And somebody said in the group, they said, "Is this a tax reducer?" Did he say?
He did. Yeah.
Is this going to be a deduction against tax? Now, if it is, that's a huge, that's hugely significant. We'll have to find further clarification on this. It could have just been a slip of the tongue. But what we do know is that these investments, which we think are probably going to be plant and equipment, they're probably not going to be investments in companies, they're not going to be cars, they're not going to be, probably not going to be land and buildings, probably just going to be equipment.
Yeah.
But it's going to be 130%, which so that's good.
Generous,
that's quite good.
Yeah.
I mean, we did just use an example that so what was it? You've got 2 million of profits, and you've got 1 million of expenditure. That's now going to be treated as 1.3 million. So that'll leave your profits of 700,000 rather than profits of 1 million.
Yeah.
Obviously, that 300,000, roughly 19-20% is a £60,000 tax gain, just shy of. So that's fine. But we just don't know this point about whether it's going to actually be against the tax. We'll have to get clarification. But again, definitely a bit of give and take there with the corporation tax changes, the tapering, the 50k profit rate, and the super deduction. And then the next point, we were actually going to get a bit excited because we thought he said R&D and EMI, and we do a lot of R&D tax credits, as I'm sure you're aware. But he didn't really.
Come on, to anything from that, did he?
He then just said that there's going to be a new visa, which is great because again, actually, here being in Oxford, we do get a lot of highly skilled migrants that want to set up companies here, and hopefully a relaxation in some of the bureaucracy of that is only a good thing for getting highly talented people into the UK. And actually, funds may flow through from investment as well.
Exactly,
so that was great. And then there was something about pensions. I didn't quite catch. Future fund breakthrough.
The allowance is all the same, I think.
Was it? Yeah, on pensions. So actually coming to the
income tax rates have stayed the same.
Coming to a conclusion. Yeah. So really, was it income tax,
National
NI,
insurance, VAT,
CGT annual exemption?
Remains the
same.
Yep.
And the big thing on that, which was the other big clout that small business owners were waiting to be hit with, we still call it entrepreneurs relief, but what is it now called, Shameem?
Business asset disposal relief.
Which I can't remember. Badra. We thought this was going to get wiped out, and there were a lot of people selling businesses, and I've got current experience of this myself, who actually wanted to do deals before today to take advantage of this tax being changed, and it didn't happen. So entrepreneurs relief, which is 10% CGT tax, is still there.
Still there, yeah.
Whew, and hasn't gone. So that's almost a great conclusion of something that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So all in all, I think I think there was a lot said about obviously COVID and how it's affected the economy. He preempted a lot, saying that the borrowing can't go on, and he's going to have to get that money from somewhere.
Yeah.
That money is going to come from successful business owners at the end of the day. But the measures that have been put in, perhaps not quite as harsh as we thought they might be.
Yeah.
And a nice bit of give back with the super deduction, which we're going to need a bit of clarification on. Bit of stealth tax around the personal allowance, I suppose. I mean, that one is a bit of a stealth one and runs to 2026.
Mm-hmm.
But no change to entrepreneurs relief, which I think a lot of us were dreading.
Yeah.
So wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shameem, and film crew, and marketing department. And well, there'll be a video going out, and of course, do get in touch if there's anything you'd like to talk to us about, existing clients or prospective new ones. www.ridgefieldconsulting.co.uk, or give us a call on Oxford 245511. Many thanks.
Thank you.